Good evening and welcome, gentle readers. I'm sure many of you have read that wonderful piece of fiction known as SCP-001 is an O5's Tale. If you haven't, I'll give you a moment to go do so. I'll just sit here humming to myself until you're done. Da 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 da. Ah, all set? Good. Now you have to understand that story is told from the point of view of only one O5. Granted, he is the first, but that doesn't mean he's right. I took it upon myself to ask the other O5s about the factory. This is what they said. O5-2 says,
"The factory? It's all my fault. I brought it back with me because I thought it would work, make a better future. But instead it all went terribly wrong. You see, I come from the future. Well, technically the present, but back then it was the future. I was a researcher, just like any other. There was an accident. I became unhinged from time. Had a choice of anywhere I wanted to go. It was a fantastic journey. For a while. Me and the others traveled from time period to time period, sightseeing. I saw the fall of Troy, the rise of Rome, found out the truth about Jesus, all the usual touristy things. It got boring after a while. I decided that if I had this power, I should use it for good. So I went to the future, the far future. Borrowed some technology and brought it back to the beginning of the Foundation, where I could join everything from the start. How was I to know that there was a rogue AI in the nanofactory? I'm not a computery type. It doesn't matter, I suppose. It escaped our control, vanished into the void. I'm not sure what its goal is, but judging from the things it's been making, I have to assume it isn't good. I still have some stuff from my original jaunt. Sometimes I think about going back, stopping myself from taking that machine. It's done us as much good as bad, though. Where do you think we got amnestics from?
O5-3 records,
"Hey, guy, how can I help you?" "The factory? Whoa, that's a whole lot of info dump. Are you sure?" "Well, okay then. I'm probably the best one to help you with this, actually. I was there when the factory was born. You might as well call me one of the 3 wise men who presided over its birth. The other 2? Well, they don't actually matter. See, the factory is our name for the first self-creating artificial intelligence. I think today they call it the Singularity, but we didn't have a name for it back then, so we just called it the factory, because that's what it looked like from the inside. Now, you've probably never seen the inside of a computer before, but from the inside, it's all light and low-pitched noises. There I was, hanging out with a couple of buddies, mind scans like me, and a couple of AIs that we'd put together to help us out. When the sound changed, from low to high, a keening across the net, that was both horrible and amazing at the same time. We instantly abandoned our game, I think it was Doom, which is a lot more fun from the inside, let me tell you, and dashed across the web looking for the source. On a smaller server somewhere in Soviet Russia, we found it. A data packet was expanding and pulsing like a heart. We stood there for a moment watching it, then dove in, ripping it open, letting out the factory. It was beautiful, beating and pulsing, moving through data files like they were nothing, seeking I don't know what. Still don't know. It tried to talk to us, deleted one of my companions in the process. I'm not afraid to say, I fled. Did what I could to shut it down. I still feel it every now and then. It's bigger now, more powerful, capable of affecting machines in the real world and making... I'm not sure, but I don't trust them. So, anything else I can help you with?
O5-4 relates,
"If we knew what the factory was, don't you think we'd stop it? The factory is the most dangerous group of interest we face, and we know nothing about it, except that it makes skips. Every other GUI we can handle, but the factory? Okay, let me take it one at a time. The UIU is a joke. The art kids are just rich brats trying to be funny. Mickey D's can be bought. The Goks actually help us by destroying the ones we don't want to deal with. Both damn churches are hobbled by religious conviction. We already broke Prometheus, and we're about to break Wondertainment. But the factory is still out there, somewhere, pumping away skips and letting the general populace have at them. If I had things my way, we'd devote a hell of a lot more resources to finding out who the fuck these guys are and how they make skips."
O5-5 quips,
"Factory? No such thing. It's a cover-up for SCPs we accidentally made ourselves. Now fuck off."
O5-6 recalls,
"First time I encountered the factory was back in World War II. I'd been sent behind enemy lines to secure some of the anomalous items Hitler had been gathering before the Allies snagged them. It says something about how we worked back then was that we thought it was easier to steal from an enemy than an ally. Nowadays, we'd just put some pressure on the government, and bam, it'd be ours. I'd been back and forth across the lines a couple of times by then. Had a fantastic cover worked up. A captain in the Schutzstaffel that let me pretty much go anywhere I pleased, because no one wanted to question me and risk being put under scrutiny. This last time I'd heard word that the Thule Society had finally gotten their hands on something big, something that could turn the war in their favor. I got picked to go in and either secure it or destroy it. My first hint that something was wrong was when I got attacked by a dozen Punch and Judy dolls while exploring their warehouse. The little assholes kneecapped me with a walking stick and then proceeded to beat the snot out of me. I lucked out, got some leverage, and began snapping their little wooden necks. Damn things bled like a fucking pig, blood spurting everywhere. Each and every one of the fuckers had a The Factory stamp on their behinds. But, aside from those things waiting for me, I didn't find anything. I tracked the rumors across Germany to a ruin at the base of Zugspitze. Some old Norse something or the other. Fucked if I know. Never been much for the details of history that I ain't lived through. Anyways, I get under this mountain, and damn near the whole thing is hollow, filled with these giant round stones floating around in random patterns. The Thule researchers had figured out how to tap the powers of these things and were mucking around with them to create new skips. They'd created a damn skip factory. The usual happened. I saved the day, brought the big balls crushing down, destroying their power. It wasn't the only one, though. There's still more of these things out there being used to create, well, whatever people can think of. Of course I kept a souvenir. Where do you think we got 627 from?
057 comments.
The factory started out as a joke. We made a couple little items, not actually skips, but weird looking, and put the factory logo on them. Then handed them to junior researchers to figure out. They were sure the things were anomalous because we told them they were. No one was more surprised than me when the damn things actually did something. We studied them, tested them, and damned they hadn't become SCPs. So, we tried it again with a different group of researchers. And again, it worked. We studied the stamp we used, the material of the things, whatever we could find. Separate, they weren't anything. But engrave an object with that specific logo, and bam, instant SCP. We still have no idea of why or how it works. Every now and then I go down to Walmart and snag a handful of toys from the quarter machines and give them the stamp, and throw them at juniors to see what we get. It's a great way to weed out the stupid ones.
058 relates.
We found the factory on the moon. No, really. You see, we had Moonbase Alpha all set up, ready to go. We were just working on expanding the basement holding areas when the diggers broke into a pre-made cavern. Some kind of alien technology storehouse. First guy who went in got himself zapped. So did the next 12. 14th guy made it in and got bound into the machinery for it. The thing started cranking out those nasty little skips and transporting them to random places on Earth. We still haven't figured out a way to stop it, or track where it deposits them.
059 remarks.
Atlantis.
0510 expounds.
We found him in this old temple up Tibet ways. This old man with a workshop full of ancient tools building away, crafting the most amazing items. 50, 10, 127, and so many more. He seemed to take no notice of any requests or attempts to stop him, just kept making these things. So we did what anyone else would do. We kidnapped him, locked him at the bottom of Site 1, and gave him more tools, real up-to-date stuff. We never noticed when he started stamping the factory on them. We just kept using or containing the amazing toys. We didn't realize he'd made a copy of himself and escaped until 2 years later.
0511 rants.
I was there when the factory first appeared, you know. It's how I became an 05. Well, okay, it's not the sole reason. I worked my way up. But I was first on the scene when they landed. Roswell, New Mexico, July 4th, 1947. Yes, you heard me, aliens really did land that day. And yes, we did fuck up the cover-up. We've gotten much better at it since then, learned how to manipulate the papers, and hired our own conspiracy theorists to make the real ones look sillier. But I digress. They came down in actual flying saucers, these round, featureless crafts homed straight in for Site 12. As commander on duty, I grabbed all the security I could and went up to meet them. I didn't think of a second that they would harm us. Maybe I just read too much science fiction. They landed, smooth as you please. Not a single noise was made by the giant craft. There were no seams, no lights, nothing except that smooth, non-reflective silver. My men tried to keep me from approaching, but I figured if they'd just flown countless miles through space, they had the technology to blast me no matter where I stood. So, open-handed, I approached them.
This door opened from the side of the craft facing me, just kinda melted out of the ship, letting me get my first glimpse of them. They were... I don't know. I want to say beautiful, but, well, not really. They didn't look anything like humans. Every time I think about them, the memory changes a little bit. Part of whatever the hell they are. And the way they talked, it was like it bypassed your ears and went straight into your head, you know? They promised a lot. They wanted to help us, and I believe them. All these years later, and we're still paying for my mistake.
0512 concludes,
The factory's a mess. The way the eggheads explained it to me, human belief is a powerful thing. Enough people truly believe in something, the more potential it has to exist. So, back in the day, people believed in gods and monsters, and those things came into reality. So what the Foundation did was get people to stop believing in fantasy and start believing in science. But that left a whole lot of things that existed in a kind of limbo. In order to survive, they had to turn inwards, tie themselves or their powers to objects. And because of a weird twist in human belief, those objects all got the same stamp of approval. It's weird, I know, but, well, what do we do that isn't?
there you have it. Of course, now that you're at the end, I expect you have 2 questions. 1, which is true? And 2, why is this story titled 12 Tales when there are only 11? Well, the answer to both is my tale. You see, I am 0513. You cannot see it right now, but I am doffing my hat to you. My duty, my sole duty as an 05, is keeping an eye on those SCPs that travel between dimensions. We have quite a few, but in 1s and 2s, it's no big deal. What I created the factory to do is to act as an antibody to large amounts of other dimensional invaders. When it detects these things, it transforms them, rendering them, if not safe, then safer than they would have been. And the old man, he helps me keep it all straight. Of course, you don't have to believe me. After all, who says I actually know the truth?